Welcome back to America Right Now. I'm Tom Basile. America at Christmastime provides all of us with moments that bring us closer to God. It should also help us realize just how blessed we are that by the Lord's grace we live here in this great country. We could have spent our Christmases anywhere on the planet, but under the Star-Spangled Banner, we've been able to feel the glow of the light of the world. Of course, if you spend any amount of time on social media or watching the left-wing press, you'd think that America is just coming apart at the seams. You'd be led to believe that this last best hope of Earth is collapsing or beyond redemption. Certainly there are political figures that want you to believe that as well. Yes, folks, we have our problems, and freedom always requires vigilance. But we cannot permit those who have a vested interest in tearing the nation apart to cloud the joy of celebrating Christmas in America. From the folks pushing for satanic displays next to nativity scenes, to the godless church vandals, to the woke loons who tried to ban the song "Baby It's Cold Outside," know that our challenges pale in comparison to the rest of the world. In China this Christmas, people will be watched by cyber overlords who will monitor their actions and words to constantly evaluate their social credit score. The communist government there scrutinizes the every move of its people. Those who get out of line can have reduced access to essential services, education, and even job opportunities. Those who practice any kind of organized religion are even more closely watched, as they are considered possible enemies of the state. This Christmas, Christians will be allowed to worship only in official churches registered and monitored by the communist government. Many Christians refuse this monitoring, and they worship in underground services. Communist authorities have removed crosses from churches to make them look more Chinese in design, and they have outright closed more than 7,000 of them. Over the last 2 years, pastors and religious leaders are expected to focus on teachings that reflect socialist values. The Communist Party is also undertaking an effort to rewrite the Bible. It's not just happening in China. In Western Europe, in Spain, as Marxism increases in strength within the new government there, Christians, including a 60-year-old woman, have recently been arrested for praying the rosary in public. The government has also denied requests for permits for prayer demonstrations. Praying in groups in public in Spain has effectively been banned. In Africa, millions of followers of Christ will celebrate Christmas in fear this year. In Nigeria, over the past 14 years, more than 50,000 Christians have been brutally murdered by Islamist militants, according to the human rights group Intersociety. The government there has now been accused of aiding the jihadists to fuel attacks and the anti-Christian hate. Last year in Mexico was the highest number of incidents of Christian persecution in their history. The violence comes at the hands of the more than 150 drug cartels who view believers and religious leaders as a threat to their authority, and the Mexican government is largely powerless to stop it. According to the organization Open Doors, churches in Nicaragua that speak out against injustice and human rights violations by the government are viewed as destabilizing agents, making them targets for rampant hostility, intimidation, harassment, monitoring, arrests, and even attacks. And of course, in Bethlehem, the birthplace of Christ, nativity scenes have been replaced with rubble and reminders of the war started by terrorists against Jews that has Christians caught in the middle. Here in America, the lights, the trees, the music, and of course the manger scenes across the nation are a feast for our souls. The images of Christmases long past fill our minds, and the memories of those long gone ahead of us bring us back to our youth. Even for those who don't believe, they know there is something special about this time of year in this country. It isn't that way in most places. We're spoiled, and we should thank God for it. While our Christmases these days are less Norman Rockwell and more Hollywood, we experience the joy of the season because of our first freedom, our freedom of religion, our freedom of worship. Certainly, we have seen more Marxism and attempts to censor and diminish faith in American society, and certainly we must redouble our efforts to protect our freedom of worship as the very foundation of our Constitution. But despite the threats, we must know in this season of giving what a great gift it is to live and worship in this great country. Pray for those this Christmas in our country who cannot find the joy of the season, and the billions, yes, billions, in nations throughout the world who still cannot yet worship free and in peace.